Shabbat Shalom and good morning, Temple Beth-El. I hope everyone is doing well. This week's Torah portion is called Shmot. It is the very first Torah portion in the book of Exodus. In this parsha, we learn that the Israelites were getting too numerous for the leadership of Egypt, and so Pharaoh decides to enslave all of the Israelites. Within this group are Moses' parents. And Moses is born in this Torah portion, and we read about his mother placing him into a basket, putting him in the river Nile to save his life, which ultimately it does, and letting Moses be led down the stream with his sister Miriam watching nearby. Moses is drawn out of the water by someone in Pharaoh's family, and in fact, the name Moses is an Egyptian name, and it means to draw out, to take out of the water. Then the Torah portion progresses very fast into Moses growing older and him actually meeting a Midianite woman, someone outside of the Jewish faith. Her name was Yocheved, and her father was Jethro. At this part of the Torah portion, we actually have the first time that we read of an interfaith marriage, of Moses marrying someone, Yocheved, who was Midianite. And it's not stuck with, it's not commented on so much so that it gets red flags and horns, but it is the first time that we read of interfaith in our patriarchs, but really within our faith as well. We continue in the Torah portion and we come across Moses who passes by a bush that is engulfed in flames. Now, it's not that that was the miracle, although we do read many times that Moses saw this bush on fire, the burning bush, and that the miracle was that he recognized it was burning. But the miracle in this Torah portion actually is that many people passed by that burning bush, noticed it was burning, and kept walking. Moses saw it was burning and noticed that the fire was not consuming the bush. And therefore, the miracle was that something that naturally had happened at this time or in all times was not occurring. And he then understands this to be God coming out of this bush. That the miracle, in fact, is that the bush was on fire, it was not being consumed, and that him stopping, him listening at the opportunity to hear God's voice. At this point, Moses is told he must tell Pharaoh to let his people go, which is where we get the phrase for Passover. And within this Torah portion, we are set up for the beginning of what becomes our Passover story. So although we are not anywhere near putting together our Seder plates and cleaning our house of chametz, it is the first time that we read the Torah portion that starts us out with the teachings and the lessons of the plagues, of the crossing of the sea, of the slaves leaving with matzah on their back. So a little bit of a spoiler alert for the next few weeks, that's where we will exist, hearing about the story of Passover that so many of us have become so accustomed to knowing. But an interesting fact, this story of Passover truly is the master narrative in Judaism. This understanding of we once were slaves, and therefore if anyone is enslaved in the world, Jews are told, commanded, literally, to seek out freedom for them as well. So much so that in our daily services and our Shabbat services, the singing of Mi Chamocha, many different versions, must appear. That liturgy, which comes directly out of the Torah, is asking, who is like you, God, among all the other gods? And it's a song and a prayer of our freedom to remind us that every time we gather as a Jewish community, we must think of those who are not free, who are no longer able to move throughout the world the way that the Jews at that point after the Passover story were. So as we approach MLK weekend and Martin Luther King Day, let us think of how our people have joined hands with many other groups of people in this world to make sure that freedom is given to all. Most specifically, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel marched hand in hand with Martin Luther King on many occasions, saying very loudly, and sometimes without words at all, that the Jewish people stood with the plight of the African Americans. Today, we still have many people who are enslaved, whether it is through resources, lack of resources, or accountability within really the whole system of which we're a part of. We must make sure that our voices are loud enough so that those who are silenced are amplified with our calling out, with our sharing, with our reaching out to our neighbors to make sure that equanimity is looked at just as much as we throw the word equality out, but true equanimity is looked at this Shabbat and always. May we continue to go into this week recognizing that it is a blessing that we get to wake up every morning in a country that allows us to be who we are, May we continue to recognize the freedoms that we get to experience, but may we not forget that there are others who are not able to experience such things. And may we continue to fight so that they can. I hope to see you all this evening for services, as well as tomorrow morning for Torah study. And next week, I would hope that you will join me on Friday night at Stetson Law for Shabbat with Jam and Jews, as well as another Shabbat experience dinner. So please be sure to RSVP on the website. Take good care. Shabbat Shalom.